G'day guys, how you going? Good to be back. Good to be back doing a video on My Blue Heaven. If you're new to the channel, please, I don't generally do this, but please like and subscribe, as they say in the classics. I'm heading towards the 3,000 subscribers. I'd love to get there before the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm what's more commonly known as a real slow burn. It's been a grind. So if you are new and you do like the content, which you probably won't, please chuck us a subscription. That would be much appreciated. I'm here just to have a bit of a chat, more probably a preamble to the start of trade period, which is next week. This week's been sort of unofficial, but fuck, Jesus Christ, it felt like it's been red hot since Monday. And I know today was the start of free agency, and that goes through to October the 13th. And the Continental Tires AFL trade period will commence on Monday, the October the 9th at 9 a.m. and will conclude at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 18th. That's for trading players and also trading draft picks, I suppose, as well. I love this period. I really do. I know some people really love it and some people loathe it. I'm probably more towards loving it. I'm not obsessed by it, but I definitely don't dislike it. There's parts of the trade radio, which is an arm. Trade radio is an arm of the AFL because they have people from AFL.com on trade radio. It is not so much an acquired taste, but there is, fuck me dead, like Jesus Christ. They're off their nut on there, but that's where you get your information and news from. And, a rumour or two, there's nothing wrong with a rumour or two. And they've got to have the content, they've got to have the stuff which is going to engage the audience, but there's just too many ads. But I just want the football season not to stop. I just want it non-stop content. That's the way I am. It's cricket and footy for me, and unfortunately cricket, it's just shite now, cricket. It's shite. It's just not the game it was. And people probably say Australian rules football is not the game it was as well, but it's my game, and cricket used to be my game as well, but it's just something stinky about cricket, and I just don't like it. So I don't really like many other sports. I'll occasionally watch them. But this is damaged. This is like once upon a time, guys, when the footy season finished, it finished. Yeah, it finished. And that was quite depressing. It really was. You get over it after a month or so, but there was like a mourning period. But now we get this. We get this still. We get this content. And you can switch off if you like. You can fuck off and switch off. That's okay. You're not forced. Just get off social media. Just take some time away. But I was driving to work this morning and I had been listening to trade radio all week, but Tom Morris and Dermy were on SEN in the morning and they were filling in. And I really like Tom Morris and I really like Dermy. I like listening to them talk, and that was a good combination to listen to. They were talking a lot of footy. But then Tom Morris uttered the words, after the break, we'll be talking to, I think his name was Dumbbell, about Bathurst, which is on this weekend. And all of a sudden, I just fucking broke into like fucking a rash. Like a rash came up. I was sweating. I nearly ran off the road because that's what it used to be like. As soon as footy season finished, it was like all Bathurst. Just Bathurst. And then horse racing, it was like, oh my God. It just made me a little bit sick in the stomach when I heard that word Bathurst. And please, I'm not being disrespectful to car racing. It's just not my go. All right, it's just not my go. And if you like it, that's great. And if you're looking forward to Bathurst, fucking beautiful for you as well. All right, so what do we know for our football club, Carlton? We know that the free agency started today, but we haven't got any free agents and we're not bringing any in. But James Jordan's gone to Sydney, pick 39. They got in return Melbourne as compo. Yeah, I mean, hardly a big name, James Jordan. Played as a sub in a grand final a few years back for the D's. He's a solid citizen, but I don't necessarily rate him. He'll probably go to Sydney and be a 6-time Brownlow medalist. That's what Sydney do. No, they don't do that. But you know what I mean. Horse Longmire will get him down there and become an integral part of the Bloods culture. And I suppose it's a bit of a replacement for Callum Mills, who fucked his shoulder up on Mad Monday, which is pretty funny. Jesus Christ, some of the Mad Monday stories that I used to get up to, Jesus, they were good. They were good days. All right. So we know there's, at this stage, 7 changes to our football club if Dow and Fisher go. And Fisher, I think it's been announced today that he wants to go to North Melbourne. That's been announced. He wants to be traded there. He's still got 2 years running on a contract. I'll get to Fisher and Dow shortly. Dow is in Japan, apparently, on holiday. And Sydney have shown some interest, but it's more likely he'll go to St Kilda. And we have to deal with those 2 clubs. St Kilda, very interesting to deal with. Very, very interesting to deal with. 1-year contracts for Marchbank, Durden and Cunningham, the only 3 other players other than Dow that weren't contracted at our football club. So they remain, Marchbank and Cunningham, been injury prone, but played some good footy in the second half of the season. Marchbank was good in the finals. Cunningham got dropped. So only 1-year deals, which is understandable given the fact that what I understand and what I see when I do go to training for the open training sessions, they're always in the even when they've been playing in the modified sort of training. So they're on a specific training, those 2 players. So and Sam Durden, I thought he would get delisted, but big key position player who can play back and potentially pinch it forward. Surprising, but you would think 1 more year for Durden, and maybe we invest in a younger key position type defender. But yeah, he's definitely insurance. Honey O'Brien, Philp delisted. Ed Curnow Plowman retired. 7 changes with Dow and Fisher if they go out. Potentially bring Elijah Hollins in. Check out my video that I did a few weeks back on Elijah Hollins, wanting to get him to the football club. I really rate him and what I've seen. So Rob Monaghan and Matt Duffy, the 2 Irish boys that we signed a month out before the end of the season as international rookies. So I think that sort of frees up about 1 or 2 spots. I'm not quite sure how it works, but it doesn't give us a hell of a lot of wriggle room because we only have the 3 picks in the draft at this stage. But we will get, you would think we'll get draft picks for Dow and Fisher. Unless Dow goes as a listed free agent. Hopefully not. So 16, 65 and 73. It's not good hand. 16's okay, but 65 and 73. Yeah. On that, there's some decent jumper numbers open up for our football club next year. 25, who Fisher has been wearing. Jezza and Fev. Number 2, Diesel and John Nichols. Number 4, Sticks and Bryce Gibbs and Peter Bazzasto. Number 36, Mark McClure, Jeff Southby. Number 20, Ian Robinson, Alex Marcoux. Number 34, which was Phil Pad, 35. Okay, Peter Dean, what a great player he was, which was Ed Curnow's number. So there's some good numbers there. Are there any players who could come down a number, who have a higher number? I'm not quite sure, but there's some fucking champion numbers there up for grabs for new players coming into our football club. All right. Let's get to the 2 boys that want to go. Okay, that want to go. And I don't necessarily think they want to go. Why would they want to go other than for opportunities? And they're being pushed. I suppose they are being pushed out of the door. When you've been overlooked and preferred and you're fit, okay, your body's fit and your mind's fit, and others are passing you and you've been overlooked, I think there's a message there to that. You've been around the club for a period of time. You're not a young player as such. These are not 2 young players, although they have got plenty of maybe good, solid football still in front of them. They're not young, as in this is just something to learn by. You're missing out this time, but it doesn't feel that way with Zack Fisher and Paddy Dow. The way I see it is that they are purely depth players, and there's a bit of Liam Stocker about them in regards to, I think they will go to their respective clubs and be fairly decent players, but not players that you look at. Maybe there'll be little patches of form where you will look and go, shit, bloody hell, they've made a good decision going there. But I just don't think they're sustainable AFL footballers who are going to be, and not everyone's going to be an A grade or an A plus or even a B plus. I think these two are a C plus, at best B, and that's about it. And for us, where we're at the moment, although they have some really good traits that we will miss as far as depth players go, because at their very best, but you don't get at their very best probably enough from these two players. They have got some good traits that I think that we will have to replace, whether that's with more other depth players or players that we think can come in and potentially go to a better level than what these two have. We are not getting rid of, I suppose, deadwood. It's not deadwood, okay? Because we could quite easily keep them on our list next year and know, we've got Paddy Dow there. We know he can come in and play a really good role. We've got Zack Fisher there. We know that he can play a high half forward role and play okay, or even go back. So it's not like probably an SBS where he was just on the nose and that's been, he's gone to the West Coast Eagles and his career's over. He spent a couple of years there and just never, it almost felt like he was was built to be an AFL footballer. I think these two will be in the system for a period of time, but will never be players that you will look at and go, we shouldn't have got rid of Paddy Dow and we shouldn't have got rid of Zack Fisher. Well, not that we're getting rid of them. I mean, Fisher's got 2 years to run, but he sees his future somewhere else. And the same with Paddy Dow. I think they feel like they're very popular at the football club. And I love what Paddy Dow's been able to do over the last couple of years and not being able to play, but just shown incredible resilience at VFL level. And I think that's a fucking really good starting point for him to go to North Melbourne. I think that's great for him. And you just wish him all the best. I would never in a million years, Paddy Dow going to St Kilda, although I don't like St Kilda that much, I would never boo him. I'm not a booer anyway, but I don't think Paddy Dow's the type of player, given what he's given to our football club and the shit he's probably had to put up with a little bit and being, probably thrown around a little bit, that you would boo this kid. And probably the same with Zack Fisher as well. I think, I wish him all the best. So let's have a look at, we'll start with Zack Fisher because he's already announced that he's going, guys. And that's to North Melbourne. And they've reportedly offered him a 4-year contract with a trigger for a 5th year, which is good. And I'd be taking that if I'm Zack Fisher. That gives him the opportunity to have an AFL career potentially up to the age of 30, and he gets to stay in Melbourne as well, at North Melbourne. I honestly think that he has no desire to return to Perth. I think there would have been some clubs, a Fremantle or a West Coast that would have inquired about Zack Fisher, but I think he likes it here. I think he gets the best of both situations. He gets an opportunity to go to North Melbourne and get the midfield minutes that he wants, that he desires as a footballer. I think that's where he thinks his best football is. And it also gives him an opportunity to stay in Melbourne where he's comfortable with and still have his friends from Carlton, Patrick Cripps and the guys that he's friends with. And apparently he's also friends with Griffin Logue as well at the Kangaroos. So he gets the best. I think he's comfortable in Victoria. But how could you not take that up? You know, and I just don't think he sort of fits into our system. Well, he should be able to fit into any system, really. But there's something about Zack Fisher that he just hasn't been able to get into his game. And I sort of can't work it out, whether it's consistency or he's been played out of position, or is he hard enough? Is he tough enough? Is he strong enough? Has he got the engine? Has he got the engine to be a winger or a midfielder that has big minutes? I'm not quite sure. I've always had that question mark on him, but he is a very skillful and creative footballer, and we're going to miss that at times. That ability to sidestep and to find space and to hit up. I think that's and losing Lockie O'Brien as well. Now, I'm not saying I actually think Lockie O'Brien's a very, very poor AFL footballer, but we're losing two players who are left-footers and are apparently two of our more skillful players by foot. So we're going to have to replace that. And it's not like we have a plethora of really good ball users. We don't. So it's okay to go to list a Lockie O'Brien and to be, let Zack Fisher, I suppose, walk without thinking, okay, who have we got coming through? Who have we got coming through, players that can actually provide us with some polish on the outside? Yeah? Okay, so that's the way I see it. So what have North got at this stage? Who knows what happens with North during this trade period with their picks. They got pick 2, 14, 19, 40 and 52 and 60. We're not getting pick 2, 14 or 19, although he was a top 10 draft pick. I feel like 40 is probably, we're not going to get that either. I just feel like that's probably North won't want to give us that. Especially when you look at, say, we got Blake Acres for a future third. I know Zack Fisher is contracted and Acres wasn't. But he only played 12 games this year and he was dropped 2 or 3 times. And I just don't know what power we've got with that. So I'm probably thinking 52 will get it. I reckon 52 will get it done. But, geez, you'd love to get that 40 for Zack Fisher. You would love to get that. He originally picked 27, played 107 games in 7 seasons, and he's contracted. And a pick 40 to add to our 16, 63 and 75, I think we would be after that, but who knows? But I think that would seem just about right for Zack Fisher. Let's go to Paddy Dow now. And you probably want to deal with Sydney, although I'm not quite sure what picks they do have, and they've got their own sort of blokes they want to bring into the football club with Grundy, and now apparently Taylor Adams might be going there, and they didn't have to pay anything for James Jordan, but they're always pretty busy in the trade period, Sydney Swans. You would like to deal with them because I think they're pretty fair in what they do. In St Kilda, we've got the fucking sauce situation, and 73 games, 6 seasons, 39 in his first 2 years. His first year was arguably his best. He looked like he was going to be an absolute superstar. I'm not going to go into reasons why he mightn't have developed. It's pointless now because he's going to leave. 34 games in the last 4 seasons. 4 last seasons, 10 this year. We know the story. Didn't start the year, came in as a sub a few times, in fact, more than a few times, showed a little bit, then got his opportunity and was injuries, performed quite well when he got his opportunities when there were injuries, but it was never enough. It was never like, fuck, Paddy Dow, best on the ground, Paddy Dow, top 3. Like, played his role really well, did some really nice things. But then once the other players came back, he was the one that made way come finals time. But as I mentioned before, has done everything right as far as attitude and resilience, and never dropped his head, went back and played superb football at VFL level, and just seems like a terrific person. And it looks like the Saints, what have the Saints got? They've got 12, 31, 50 and 86. They're not giving us 50. There's no fucking way in the wide world Sauce is giving us 50. They probably want to give us 86. And the word is that they were probably going, knowing Silvani, he'll want to wait until he's a listed free agent and get him for nothing. But fuck you, Sauce. What's happened now is that Nick Coffield, and they probably knew this anyway, but Nick Coffield, the former top 10 draft pick, same draft as Paddy Dow, and he's been injured since 221 and probably showed a little bit more than Dow when he first started, but not a hell of a lot more at the Saints. But he's only played the 50-odd games. He's announced that he wants to go to the Western Bulldogs. Now, the Saints are going to have to deal with the Western Bulldogs, and they're going to want a draft pick for him. They're not going to, because he's out of contract, Nick Coffield. They're not going to delist. Sauce isn't going to delist Nick Coffield now. So that works in our favour. They're going to have to deal with us and try and get a deal done for Paddy Dow. This might take a while, I reckon. And what that looks like, I'm not quite sure. 50, I don't think we're getting 50, but I wouldn't be too disappointed if somehow the Saints said, yeah, we'll give you 50 for Paddy Dow. I just don't think we have a lot of bargaining power given that he's hardly played any football and he's out of contract. And really, we probably should have read the tea leaves a little bit better with Paddy Dow and Zack Fisher and potentially tried to trade them when their stocks were maybe higher. I'm not quite sure if that was ever the case. But yeah, what I want to talk about now is, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think we're just going to sit on our heels in this trade period? I know we're going to have to get those deals done, but can you see anything happening other than Elijah Hollands coming in, or is there any gaping holes? What do we need? Is this list? I know we made a prelim final. But it just feels like there is still something missing. And if we're going to continue along the lines, and I like it because I think it's a great base and a good starting point to be just a really brutal contest team, and a front half team really dominating centre clearance if we can, and stoppages around the ground, and that puts you on the front foot when they talk about this territory in our front half. But our big problem is our turnover, like our turnover game, and we get punished. So what do we need? I mean, are we shopping anyone around? Young, Williams, Martin, Kennedy, Corey Durden? I'm just throwing some names out there. Are they all safe? Are we conservative in that way? And if Fisher didn't want to go, would have we just kept him? And if we're going to be this front half team, we need more Mr. Sheen. We need more polish through the midfield, and I'm sorry, but I just feel like we need to be a bit more dynamic in our front half. I do, in our forward line. I don't see it with our forwards. I think Motlop's probably the one that shows the most potential. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops. But the rest are just blue-collar workers. The blue-collar workers and Charlie and the big fella up forward, Harry, I think it's going to be a huge year for them as well as a combination. I think there's question marks on the combination. So I'm actually fascinated to see whether we are a little bit more proactive in this trade period than what we think is going to happen, although I don't expect anything to happen, much to happen at all, really. But fuck, is this list good enough? Is it good enough without at least adding some more class, or do we think there's enough underneath coming through that's going to add that? Your Bins coming through, or a Lockie Cowan. I don't think so. I don't think they're sort of your X-factor type players, or your great ball users, or and is Zach Williams going to be the one to come in and just, give us something different, whether it's from half back or on a wing or across half forward. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, that's all wrapped, guys. A preamble for the first week of the unofficial trade period that starts next week. Tell me what you think. I'll touch base again next Friday. Speak soon.